15 times British royals were caught showing their rudeness. As members of the world's most famous royal family, there's constant scrutiny of their actions and words. Even minor missteps or brief moments of perceived rudeness can become huge scandals, amplified by intense media attention. While royals are entitled to lapses in judgment just like anyone, their status as public figures means they're held to a higher standard. Anything perceived as arrogant, insensitive, or overly casual can undermine their carefully crafted reputations. Today we'll be looking at 15 prominent cases where royals were caught publicly saying or doing things considered rude or improper. Number 1. Princess Anne's displeasure at a royal engagement. In 2019, a brief but revealing interaction between Princess Anne and Donald Trump went viral and caused quite a stir. During a reception held by Queen Elizabeth at Buckingham Palace, Princess Anne was caught on camera shrugging and shaking her head while President Trump approached the Queen to shake her hand. The incident occurred as the Trumps were being introduced to members of the royal family. As the Queen was conversing with the First Lady, President Trump walked ahead and interrupted to extend his hand to the Queen. Princess Anne, standing just behind her mother, pursed her lips and raised her arms in an exaggerated shrug, almost rolling her eyes. She then turned her head away in an apparent snub as the Queen shook Trump's hand. The unguarded moment seemed to reveal Princess Anne's displeasure at President Trump's breach of protocol in getting ahead of his wife and approaching the Queen prematurely. It also potentially signified broader disapproval of the controversial American president on the part of the British royal family. Video footage of Princess Anne's dismissive body language instantly went viral. Number 2. Prince Andrew in the Jeffrey Epstein scandal. Prince Andrew's friendship with convicted sex offender Jeffrey Epstein was always controversial. But things reached a boiling point following Epstein's 2019 death and the increased focus on his history of sexual abuse and trafficking. When asked by the BBC about their relationship, Prince Andrew showed little compassion for Epstein's many victims. At one point, he even suggested that Epstein's predation was in some way beneficial for the young women involved, which prompted disbelief at such an insensitive stance. Andrew also made baffling claims about why he couldn't have encounters with certain accusers based on things like him not sweating and only partying at certain venues. His peculiar defense and lack of remorse for affiliation with Epstein reinforced perceptions that Andrew was arrogant and out of touch. The disastrous interview demonstrated painfully poor judgment. In its wake, Prince Andrew withdrew from public life in disgrace. The Queen stripped him of military titles and royal patronages. He became a liability and embarrassment with his continued presence. Number 3. King Charles open microphone incident, 2005. King Charles likely thought his discreet grumbling about reporter Nicholas Witchell was a private aside during a family photo op. Instead, his unguarded remarks were caught clearly by microphones and publicized around the globe. King Charles seemed visibly annoyed by Witchell's presence, referring to the journalist as awful and saying, "I can't bear that man," displayed rather undignified pettiness. While King Charles' views of certain journalists may be understandable given often critical media coverage of the royals, being caught insulting them on tape showed poor discipline and self-control. It undermined King Charles' typical restraint in public settings. The hot mic blunder also worsened King Charles' already rocky relationship with parts of the British press. Number 4. Princess Anne's naff-off remark. Princess Anne has built a no-nonsense reputation as one of the hardest-working members of the royal family. However, her 2002 run-in with the press cast her in a more impatient light. Arriving for an event in London, Anne stepped from her car to be greeted by photographers jostling for position and shouting requests. Visibly irritated, Anne turned and uttered bluntly, "Naff off." Her obvious annoyance provoked an amused reaction from the media. While the princess's frustrations may have been understandable, the curt insult came across as imperious and short-tempered. It fits into an existing narrative that Anne looks down on the media as a nuisance, despite their integral role in chronicling royal activities. Number 5. Prince Harry's Las Vegas incident, 2012. For Prince Harry, his infamous Las Vegas trip in 2012 will always remain a major lapse in judgment in the public eye. The reckless partying and nude billiards game would have been a scandal for any prominent figure, but the fact that it involved a senior member of the royal family made it a particularly notorious event. Photos showing Harry cupping his genitals next to a naked woman in his VIP suite were splashed across tabloids worldwide. The raucous partying portrayed Harry as irresponsible and painted British royals as out of control. While Harry had always had a playboy reputation, the Las Vegas incident took it to new extremes. Some questioned whether the prince was fit to serve as an official diplomatic representative and military officer if he displayed such bad behavior. Although Harry avoided lasting damage from the scandal, it showed the constant scrutiny royals face and lack of privacy even on personal vacations. Number 6. Meghan Markle's alleged treatment of staff. Since joining the royal family, Meghan Markle faced recurring allegations of mistreating staff. Numerous reports claimed Meghan exhibited emotional cruelty towards workers and assistants. She's been accused of emailing staffers as early as 5 a.m. and being very demanding. Several key employees left their roles to work closely with Meghan. While some turnovers expected, the high rate fueled rumors it was due to Meghan's difficult behavior. Supporters note Meghan faced hostility as an outsider joining the outdated royal institution. They say she may have ruffled feathers by shaking up the old status quo. Defenders also point to possible prejudice against Meghan as a biracial American. However, the narrative of Meghan as a toxic boss has stuck in the minds of critics. They see her alleged treatment of subordinates as confirmation that she's self-important and lacks empathy. The Duchess strenuously denies the accusations about her leadership style, but the claims have still tarnished Meghan's reputation in many people's eyes. They reinforce perceptions that she prioritizes her own needs over others and cares little about the human impact of her actions. Number 7. The late Queen Elizabeth's hot mic moment about Chinese officials, 2016. The late Queen is renowned for being highly cautious and discreet at all times in public settings. So that made it all the more surprising when microphones caught her making unguarded critical statements about a visiting Chinese delegation in 2016. Chatting with a police commander overseeing security, the late Queen seemed frustrated by the incoming officials, deeming them very rude for protocol breaches while being hosted. She indicated Chinese representatives had even arrogantly tried dictating terms about royal events, implying they saw themselves as equal to the monarchy. While likely not meant maliciously, the candid remarks were a slip-up by the Queen, violating the government's principle of not criticizing foreign states or leaders. From a diplomatic perspective, even perceived minor insults can flare into larger rows between nations. The hot mic incident also shattered the notion that Queen Elizabeth never spoke candidly in situations where she may be recorded. It provided a small glimpse into her unfiltered personal opinions on diplomatic dealings behind the scenes. Given the late Queen's extremely infrequent missteps over her long reign, this minor controversy still garnered disproportionate attention. With China being such an important economic partner for Britain, critics worried that the unguarded comments could weaken relations in subtle but meaningful ways going forward. Number 8. Prince William's ski trip gaffe, 2017. Prince William faced backlash over his behavior while on a guy's ski trip to Switzerland in 2017. Photos emerged showing Prince William dancing wildly and appearing drunk at a club. While letting loose on vacation may be normal, Prince William was criticized for partying so hard while his grandfather Prince Philip was recovering from a serious illness back home. It seemed insensitive to be on a vacation during a family health crisis. For some, it called into question Prince William's maturity and sense of priority as a future monarch. The incident didn't align with Prince William's typical responsible image. While a minor scandal, the ski trip moment cast doubts on Prince William's discipline. It also previewed the delicate balancing act he faced mixing private downtime with constant public duties. Number 9. Sarah Ferguson's toe-sucking scandal, 1992. The Duchess of York, Sarah Ferguson, cemented her reputation as an embarrassment to the royal family in 1992 when tabloid photos emerged showing her in a compromising position with a man who was not her husband, Prince Andrew. The infamous pictures captured Sarah lounging poolside as her boyfriend sucked on her toes and kissed the soles of her feet. Both were still married to other people at the time, making it a doubly scandalous situation. The extremely intimate public photo sparked an enormous backlash against Sarah for such brazen impropriety. Along with her divorce from Andrew that year, the incident essentially marked Sarah's exit from the royal inner circle. In the decades since, the toe-sucking images have remained shorthand for Sarah's lack of discretion and wild streak that was deemed unsuitable for a representative of the Queen. Number 10. Princess Michael of Kent's Blackmore Brooch, 2017. Princess Michael of Kent created controversy when she wore a racially provocative brooch to a 2017 Christmas event at Buckingham Palace. The piece of jewelry depicted a Blackmore, an antiquated artistic style that showed figures of Black people in subservient or demeaning poses. Critics blasted her choice to wear the Blackmore brooch as highly racially insensitive, especially while attending an event alongside Prince Harry's new fiancée, Meghan Markle, who's biracial. Princess Michael apologized after the fact by claiming she wore the brooch innocently without knowing its racially charged connotations. However, many saw the incident as reflective of much wider issues of racism and lack of awareness within the royal institution. The combination of the insensitive brooch being worn to an event with the first non-white royal seemed indicative of a deep-seated prejudice bubbling to the surface. While likely unintentional, Princess Michael's PR disaster of a brooch reinforced concerns that certain members of the royal circle are ignorant of racist attitudes and symbols. This subsequent outrage highlighted the need for greater sensitivity regarding matters of race as the monarchy evolved into a more multicultural society. Number 11. Prince Philip's Gaffe in Australia, 2002. In 2002, Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh and husband of Queen Elizabeth, visited Australia as part of the Golden Jubilee Tour marking the Queen's 50th year on the throne. During the visit, Prince Philip made headlines when he made an off-color remark that was deemed insensitive and offensive. While speaking with Indigenous leaders in Queensland, Prince Philip asked one group, "Do you still throw spears at each other?" This was a reference to an offensive cultural stereotype about Indigenous Australians. His comment provoked anger and outrage among Indigenous communities and leaders, who felt it trivialized their traditions and perpetuated racist misconceptions. The remark was seen as a prominent gaffe and lapse in judgment on Prince Philip's part. While he had developed a reputation for making blunt and awkward comments over the years, this one stood out for its racial insensitivity. He later issued a statement saying he meant the question to highlight the vitality of Indigenous races, but many felt the damage was already done in terms of reinforcing historical prejudice. Number 12. Princess Catherine's eye-rolling incident, 2014. Princess Catherine's flawless public image took a rare knock in 2014 when cameras caught her rolling her eyes during a royal meet-and-greet in New York. As Princess Catherine chatted politely with donors, a woman came up asking for a photo together. As Princess Catherine turned away, she couldn't resist giving a dramatic eye roll, suggesting hidden annoyance. The candid moment humanized the princess, showing her understandable irritation with the endless glad-handing expected of royals. Critics, however, argued that regardless of how repetitive royal photo ops may get, openly showing frustration risked damaging the mystique of the monarchy. The eye-roll video spawned mass commentary with debate around whether it proved Princess Catherine was just like everyone else or signaled deeper dissatisfaction with royal duties. Others felt it showed a lack of gratitude towards admirers wanting to meet her. While a very minor incident, the footage gave Princess Catherine's perfect facade a small crack. It also demonstrated how even naturally disciplined royals like Princess Catherine can have momentary lapses revealing their true feelings about aspects of the job. Number 13. King Charles' comment on education. King Charles came under fire in the 1980s when a leaked letter showed him blaming the failures of state education for the high unemployment and crime rates in British inner cities. The note echoed conservative views that spending on schools for disadvantaged communities was wasted. Critics pounced on King Charles' comments as detached and elitist, reflecting little understanding of challenges in poorer areas. It seemed to dismiss the value of social mobility and improving people's lives through education. The patronizing tone also fueled perceptions that King Charles looked down on the lower classes as inherently incapable. It contradicted his philanthropic focus on helping youth in troubled circumstances. While King Charles' political opinions were known to be conservative-leaning, the memo put a controversial slant on those views. It led to accusations that he harbored prejudiced classist attitudes at odds with modern notions of equal opportunity. Number 14. Prince Andrew's golf course outburst. Prince Andrew is no stranger to arrogance, but his 2008 confrontation with a woman on a golf course still stands out for its blunt high-handedness. While playing at an exclusive club, Andrew shanked a shot. It nearly struck a woman who was crossing behind the adjacent hole. When she reacted with alarm, Andrew stormed over and denied being anywhere near the woman, despite witness accounts saying otherwise. Observers described Andrew as red-faced and aggressive rather than apologetic. The rude exchange reaffirmed his reputation as an imperious royal who can't handle everyday interactions with the public. The prince's knee-jerk denial and lack of manners came across as someone who rarely gets challenged. It conveyed a disconnect from normal etiquette and decency expected on public golf courses. Though a minor incident, the golf outburst fit cleanly into existing narratives of Andrew as a combustible royal. Encounters like this also highlighted why he was unsuited for frontline duties as a representative of the Queen. The damaging pattern of arrogance didn't just emerge suddenly in the Epstein scandal. Andrew had consistently shown himself to be insensitive towards others beneath his standing for many years. Number 15. Prince Edward's media outburst. Sophie, Countess of Wessex, and her husband, Prince Edward, have intentionally pursued understated royal roles focused on service. But Edward showed uncharacteristic irritation during one 2009 encounter with reporters. Exiting an event with Sophie, Edward grew visibly annoyed at photographers angling for shots of the couple. He confronted one member of the press pack, snapping, "Why don't you take your hand off it for a minute, yeah?" based on video footage. The terse exchange conveyed an almost physical aggression from Edward, totally at odds with his typical low-key demeanor. It also reinforced unflattering depictions of him as impatient and thin-skinned when faced with media attention. For Edward, whose rocky production careers made him wary of the press, the minor dust-up was likely an isolated moment of annoyance. But the public setting escalated it into a PR flap over royals misbehaving around commoners. And that wraps up our video on 15 times British royals got caught behaving in rude or controversial ways over the years. It's fascinating to see how even minor missteps get amplified when faced with intense public scrutiny. Let me know in the comments which royal PR slip-up or scandal surprised you the most. And if you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and share it with anyone else you think would find it interesting. Also, be sure to subscribe to the channel and ring the notification bell so you never miss any new videos like this one.